Okay, we're waiting for a few more people to get in here. Today, Guitar Straps 101. I figured I would go ahead and make this alive and what's the old saying, kill two birds with one stone. I'm I'm still learning on these lives. I did one of my first ones, a trial one, and I went live a few minutes before it was time to go live. I played a very simple three chord progression I've been playing for over 52 years. And YouTube was very nice, and I'm not mad at YouTube, but um, told me there was a copyright where they wanted to share revenue, and they told me all the options I had and what I could do, and I very nicely and professionally disputed it. And I don't blame YouTube for what they did or the person for what they did. You have to defend your copyrights. But if we get to the point that a simple chord progression, then we're not going to have any guitar instructions. So thankfully, I got dismissed. Like I said, I respect that YouTube is serious about that. People that pour their heart and soul into their work should, have their copyrights protected. I don't have to tell you about the history of copyrights in guitar all the way back to George Harrison that really broke his heart, and he didn't feel all the way up to where they made the settlement as if he had done anything wrong. And I personally don't think he did anything wrong either. But that's the nature of the beast. So Guitar Straps 101. So we got a lot to uncover. Um, it, there's all kind of reasons to get a guitar strap. Some people don't like guitar straps. Some people do. Some people say the essence, I do too, of a guitar strap is protection of the guitar, and then protection of you, then comfort, then looks, things of that nature. Well, there are just all kinds of guitar straps. It can be hard to buy one sight unseen, um, but there is something to take note in that they're relatively inexpensive. Now, some of them are very expensive. And then some of them are very good and they're still not expensive. I've got a Gibson Les Paul behind me. I'm going to show you a strap I got from Tom's Vintage Straps in France. Beautiful strap. And he did it the way I wanted. The in leather, the choice, the outlay, the material it was made with, and then you can see behind me on the board there's all kind of straps you can choose from. I'm a big fan of these locking straps. We're going to cover that, but the only problem with those locking straps, and I'll get into that, is depending on where they put the strap button, which is called all kind of things. I've heard it called the strap pin, but I'm gonna call it a strap button. Okay, where you put the strap on, it's normally in the 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 lower bout of the guitar on the side, and then it's often in the heel. Let's just start out right off the bat. I'm gonna show you something. This is my Martin 0028. It does not have a heel strap button like many do. Now, that's okay. There's all kind of things you can do. Everything from, most straps have a way to tie a string, and you just go up under the nut and you tie it into the end of the strap. I'll get more into that in a minute. And then there's this device here, which is an acoustic quick release. And basically what happens is, you put it just has a little snap, two little buttons on each side. And when you snap it, it pops loose, and it can be ornery, but it's kind of like what you see in camping gear and things like that. And basically you just route one end through as I've done here. So because this Martin, so all I did was I threaded it through up under the nut, came through, and then I tied the other end to the strap, to the end of the strap, and then they just hook quickly together. Now, many Martins do not even ship with a strap button. They come in a little envelope. They don't want them to get knocked off, and you've got to put it in. So what I'm going to do, and Martin authorizes this as long as you follow their procedures. You can take it to a Martin authorized dealer, but I'm actually going to insert my own strap button. I'm going to drill the hole following their procedures. I don't recommend you do this if you've never done it. I've done it before. I never recommend you do something like this, checking with the manufacturer. You could tear up the guitar. But this is where they're put. Some people would cringe, oh, you're going to drill into a guitar. Well, that's what they do to put it in there. So, I love my Martins, but many of them ship because they know that's a personal preference. Some people get a guitar and they move the pins. They don't like where they were positioned. So that's another thing. Then you get into some pins. I'm going to cover a little bit of everything, and we're going to cover locking pins and things of that nature. But this is my Lava Smart guitar. Now, I've got a fret 37 on the bottom, and all that does allows you to play it, and then you can just, I'll set it down up here on the desktop and let it sit by itself. There you go. So, that's what that's about. I've done a video about that. You got to be careful. You got to be able to have a sides that are flat. They can't be bowed. Like I have several Taylor Mini GSs that are bowed, which gives them that beautiful sound, and that doesn't work. But look at the amp jack on this. This is where the amplifier plugs in. And so this doubles as a strap button. But the problem with this strap button is so big, and the area in here that it fits into is so narrow that it's a chore to get a strap on there. So, this is a guitar that if I needed the strap on it, I would probably place it there and leave it, because I don't always leave a strap on. I did a video about using these fret cozies and Velcro strips to bungee up a strap to the neck to get it out of the way. That's not a bad idea, but that's not always what I want to do. I very often will put straps on a nail or a hook by the guitar, and then I'll put them on as I need them, but I keep them close by. So you can see even the front one, this one has more room. You can see in there for the strap, the thin part of the strap to go in, but it's still a big strap button. So it's not the normal size. Now, I'm not going to beat up on this company. This is a great, smart guitar. And maybe maybe they'd rather have the other features like the acoustic, electric, and the input jack going through, because as you can see, all right, and this is very common with acoustic electrics. The strap button will double as where the input jack is. So that's very common. So your strap, you've also got to think about the jack cable. Is it going to get in the way? And they do things to remedy that too. These are Dia de Aero strap locks. I'll show you how those work in a minute. But you can see my eyeball right there. That's to put your cable through so the cable doesn't move around. So I mean, there's a lot of neat tools, and basically this just fit. I'll do one for you in a minute. This fits over the strap button and you lock it into place. And before you do that, you would put the cable in, then lock it into place. We could do a whole video about disasters that have happened because of bad straps and things not locked. Even Eric Clapton almost lost a telly once. If you play long enough live on stage, then you're probably going to witness some near catastrophes. Hopefully you don't witness catastrophes. I'm going to show you, remember I showed you this, the quick release. Watch me put it together. It's just like camping gear and bags, boom. And then you squeeze it to take it apart. This is another one that Martin makes. And I use this on some of my smaller Martins that do not have a heel strap button. And let's talk again what the heel is. The heel of a guitar is where the neck joins the body. And you can see you've got a strap button right there. So that's the heel. Well, some of them don't have that. And so you have to resort to either tying, going through up under the nut, coming out the other side, and tying off into the strap. But this is the other alternative where you can take this and go up under the nut and then pull it, keep pulling it, hook that, and then hook the strap into it. So Martin makes that, and it's pretty. It's leather. I like it. It's not that hard to use. It can get tight because it has its own piece that is locking in. We're just going to use this to demonstrate. This is typically just like the pin, the strap button on a guitar, and a guitar strap. Typically, this part opens, and this is where a lot of people screw up putting a strap on. They don't really know what to do. They try everything from coming in at an angle, and there's all kind of ways to do this. Now, everybody's going to have their way of doing it. A lot of it's going to have to do with the strap itself and the button you're affixing the strap to. I like to get one started, but I don't like to try to stretch it over. I find, now you can do it, but depending on the material, whether it's leather, cloth, some of them are a lot easier to stretch. I like to actually bend these open. Watch. Where I'm actually stretching that apart. Then I can put one in, and before I go all the way in, I push some more. Let me get where you can see. And then I can pull it over, and now we've got it completed. So straps can be finicky things, but we're also going to talk about one right here that's not so finicky, but depending on where the strap button is, it's on the heel sometimes. This Quick Grip Secure Strap by Fender, and other companies make them too, Diodero and some of the others. That can be a problem. In fact, it can actually keep them from working because they're hard plastic, so they don't give like a normal strap does. And what do I mean by give? Well, here's a typical strap. It's a lightweight strap. It's got the adjustment right here, just like a purse does. In fact, it was my wife that finally got me into thinking of how to adjust the strap. Man, she went right to it before she even learned how to play guitar. But this is flexible. This moves. So, you know, you've got some wiggle worm and play here. No matter where the heel, if it's on the heel of the guitar or on the back side, you know, if typically the back's not a problem. The back's usually very easy to get to. So, you know, you can slide that on pretty simple. See, I'm doing that with one hand and I'm in. But you need to make sure you're in. And I always tuck what's frayed up and I pull. I make sure I pull to make sure that we're there. But then what are the strap locks for? Well, let's just go ahead and deal with one of them. Give me 1 second here. I want to show you the packaging. Several companies make these, but this is a dual lock from Diadiero, and it shows you on the back. Gives you the instructions. You can actually see in the picture the jack cable going through. They're relatively inexpensive. So I'm doing this at a little bit of an odd angle and backwards, but basically you're looking for the big round part. So you're going to put the round part, you're going to turn this over. You're going to put the round part over the strap button. I tell you, doing this backwards YouTube stuff is amazing. So, and in fact, sometimes I can do it and sometimes I just need to cheat. So here we go. So I line up the big hole. Once I get that on there, then I push down and then it just locks into place. And now this strap is not going to come off this way. So that's one good secure way. And you saw I did that with one hand holding a guitar, having to reverse in my mind what I was doing until I leaned forward. Now, to undo it, you simply lift. It's got, you see the two tabs. You simply lift up on the tab. I'm doing this one hand again and holding the guitar over my shoulder. And we're still going to be able to do it, I hope. But you lift up and then you simply pull it off because you're going back through the big hole part. But these are very good. I'm a firm believer in these, that they don't take long to get to put on at all. They will also hold your cable. That's what the little hole part is, where my eyeball is. And cable, you know, your guitar cable can cause you some serious problems yanking your guitar and things of that nature, and pulling guitar out of your hand too. So, you know, the essence. I see we got a question. I got to put my glasses on, so bear with me. Let me put this up. We're going to take this strap off. This is a beautiful strap. I'm going to cover it too. Y'all pardon me. I don't have a moderator. It's just me. So while I was holding the guitar over my shoulder, I really couldn't look, but I thank y'all for joining the live. Let's see what. Should I use strap for my classic guitars? I don't have one now, but I'm thinking get one. Okay, that's a great question. Should I use one for a classical guitar? That is a great question. And we're gonna talk about that right now. This is not my classical guitar. You can see it hanging back there. I've got four. Actually, I have five. But the problem with most classical guitars, they don't have a strap button in the heel. Some of them do. You know, I've got a Cordoba Mini that does. In fact, let's just get it. But you'll see the Cordoba Mini, even though it's nylon, doesn't have the classical style tuning heads, but he raises a very great question. So this is my nylon Cordoba Mini. Now you can see it's a lot of the classicals will have one here. There's even ways around that. But typically, this is where you're going to have to take the string or one of these quick releases. I'm fixing to answer your question. And the string would be a matter of running. It's like a shoestring. Most every strap you buy is going to have one of these. And then it's a matter of running this under the nut and then tying off. People, how do I tie? Oh, God. You know what? Make a square knot because that's not going anywhere. You can do some videos on there. But at any rate, let's talk about why you might want to do that with a classical guitar. Hi, Scotland. So glad you're here. Okay, a classical guitar, typically, if you're playing in the classical style, you're going to be in a proper chair. You're probably going to have a footstool, and you're not going to be playing the guitar like this, like your typical rock and roller, country, pop. You're going to be playing, this is going to fit, and you're going to be playing like this in an upward position. So a classical guitarist, because of that, very seldom needs a strap. Very seldom, because you hardly ever see if a classical guitarist, the true definition of a classical guitarist, I realize I'm going two different ways, but hang with me a second. I'm going to get this answered. If you're playing in a classical guitar style where they sit down to play in a concert and the neck and the headstock are elevated, you wouldn't use a strap there. I don't know that I've ever seen a classical guitarist do that. But if you've got a nylon guitar that is and a lot of people call just a nylon a classical, they're playing it in a band, they're holding it the regular way, by all means, I think a strap may benefit you. But one of the biggest things that I want to talk about with a strap is the neck. People think, well, why do you need a strap when you're sitting? Well, I've got that Les Paul behind me right there, that blueberry Les Paul. That sucker weighs over 10 pounds. There are guitars that have neck dive. If you're having to hold the neck up, trust me, you're not going to slide down a neck and play chords as easily, because part of your job is supporting the neck. So that's what a strap does for you. Does that kind of answer your question? I hope. I think it's going to get into a matter of personal preference. I always recommend, if you stand up with a guitar, to get a strap. Now, this is a mini. If y'all watched my channel at all, you've heard me talk about how I don't play dreadnoughts. Okay, what's a dreadnought? A dreadnought is a full body size guitar. It's bigger than the Martin I showed you a minute ago. The double O is more on an orchestra line, smaller than a dreadnought. A dreadnought is a projecting guitar. It's huge, puts out a tremendous amount of volume. That didn't bother me in high school when I was in a folk group, a gospel group, and a rock group. Delalt says, yes, I play classical style. May I suggest this to you, Della? Go buy a cheap strap. You can get them for $7 somewhere. Put one on, see how you feel. And if you're doing classical style, unless you get that adjustment just right, I bet it's going to drive you crazy. But $7, maybe pick one up at a flea mall or something like that. I hope that helps. But the fact that you're playing in a classical style, remember, the classical style is the perfect guitar position. Now, some people say, well, I'll debate that. I have so much respect for classical guitar. I do. I just so much respect. We got so much of our theory, what we do today. It's, and I don't like when people badmouth classical guitarists, or when classical guitarists badmouth other guitarists. We're all guitarists. We have different styles. So I would say try one, a cheaper one, especially one that's lightweight like this. In fact, I use this for that Cordoba stage there, the electric nylon. It's a true nylon because I think it goes beautifully with the cedar and mahogany bodies of some of the classicals I own, and it's so lightweight. But I'm standing up with that, playing it a nylon electric, which Godin and Cordoba are known for being some of the few guitar makers that worked out the distortion that typically comes when you try to put nylon strings in a classical guitar into an electric pickup style, and they've done a wonderful job. I love it. So this is a lightweight strap. It's pretty. I mean, and it's thin. I mean, this just weighs almost nothing, but it's a secure strap. So try that. I think that might help you to answer your question. But again, back to another reason to have a strap. Besides, you don't want it to fall. When you stand up to play, if you are fighting this neck, if this neck is weighting down on you, you are taken away from the gracefulness of your chords. So you'll often see me, there's a lot of times, the reason that y'all see me when I'm showing y'all how to do something, pardon me, yeah, Della makes another great thing. She's getting pain in her shoulder, and I was going to get to that. That is a great reason to try. Even with playing in a classical style, if you have that strap coming there, it's going to relieve some of that shoulder tension. Now, you may want to consider getting a shoulder pad, and they make them, a guitar strap shoulder pad. Wherever this crosses your shoulder, there'll be a pad there. Some guitar straps are padded there. You can slide it up and down. So that, and a lot of this has to do, guitarists, with your style of play. If you're sitting at home for a few minutes playing, practicing 20 minutes a day, strap may not be that big a deal with you, unless you're fighting that having to hold up while you're trying to play chords and lead and things like that. But if you're gigging, if you're performing, you wonder why these guys and gals buy expensive straps. 4 hours with a guitar can be torture, can literally be torture. I know in the folk and gospel group I was in, we'd go 2 hours sometimes, and you were just worn out. I mean, you were literally worn out. Now, let's talk about, and that's another thing. When you have a strap on the guitar, the strap just got hung on the stand. I've talked about that before too. This is from Tom's Vintage Straps in France. And, once I get this uploaded, and if I don't have any problems like I have with the last one, then I hope to go back and drop in several links for everybody to some of these straps and things about it. But he built this strap to my specifications, all the way to the kind of leather I wanted on the end, everything. And then once I got it on here, I put one of those Diadiero strap locks on it. I don't want my Les Paul to break. I don't want any guitar to break. But my wife picked this, and my wife knows color a lot better than I do. You can see the leather. Oh, it's so comfortable. There's just something to be said about genuine leather. Now you have to watch it. It's got hardware for the strap adjustment, so you got to make sure you're not banging that against the finish of the guitar. You know, this has the nitrocellulose finish. I mean, I, when I keep this in the rack, I have polishing cloths to where it won't stain the neck where it's hanging or where it's sitting. But this is a comfortable strap. What makes it so comfortable? It's not the pretty blue pattern my wife picked that goes with this blueberry burst, and I love blue. I've got a bunch of Sonic blue Fender Strats and Tellys and things, but this is a darker blue. I like blue, you know, but my wife picked this. I think she did a beautiful job. But I can tell you, it's the leather that makes it so comfortable. I don't need a cozy. It's just it was this was not this was a little under 100. It was around $100. I've seen straps that go even higher than that, but I got to tell you. And then I got the joy of watching the package it came in with from France. He's about an hour outside of Paris. If you go to his website, Tom's Vintage Straps, you can Google that. He's got his own story about how, you know, he got into this, and he custom does every one. And to me, $100 for something that makes a 10-pound guitar. This is a 10-pound. I don't even know how many ounces. But as you can see, going back to what Della asked, I'm not fighting neck dive. It's right. I've adjusted it right where I want it to be. In other words, and I can bring it in tight. See, it's not moving. It's not diving. It's right where I want it to be. Sitting down even. If I stand up, it stays right where I want it. This is comfortable. That leather feels soft. You know, a lot of times your strap gets above or digs in and gets beyond the collar of your shirt you're wearing, if you know, depending on what you're wearing, and it can start hurting. So, I mean, this was worth every bit of money to me, not to mention, I think it's a gorgeous, beautiful strap. But to me, the first thing a strap should do, we're going to get into some locking strap buttons where you actually remove the old button and put in one that locks the strap into place, and it ain't coming off. But then that presents a whole nother set of circumstances we're going to get into. But, you know, I meant to cover this. This is just, it's a beautiful strap, Tom's Vintage Straps. And there's lots of companies that make expressive straps that are very comfortable. This is not where I normally keep my Les Paul with the nitrocellulose, even though this stand here says that it's protective of that. I'm just super duper paranoid. I still put polishing cloths. I've seen stand rash on a guitar. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got an Ovation, a 1981 Ovation Celebrity CC11. It was the first guitar that I got back after I had to sell a bunch when we got married and had the first child, and I had to have some money. I was in the Air Force. And so, you know, I got this guitar. It's been banged up, knocked around. It still plays beautiful. But for the most part, I try not to bang up my guitars, but guitars are meant to be played, in my view. These guitars that you see here, even like the Alta Vista there, that's a Luna. That's called an Alta Vista Stallion. It's beautiful. Abalone, mother of pearl inlay. You see the stallion raised up. Now it's on its side. I love Luna guitars. They make beautiful guitars. In fact, I'm fixing to show you a very unique, and let's just do it. This I bought for my wife when she first got back to playing. Now, it has the heel strap button, and it has the bottom. You can see I've got a Diadiero lock on it, but that's kind of weird looking. What's going on there? Well, and I don't know if it's in tune or not. It's a little out of tune, but this is, of course, Vincent Van Gogh, however you're going to say it, Starry, Starry Night. It is a beautiful guitar. My wife loves this. She loves Vincent Van Gogh. So I bought this for our 38th wedding anniversary. And my wife is one of my students. Again, I taught her to play when we first got married back in the 80s. Then life got in the way. Once I retired and got back into this, she wanted to learn again. And I tell you, she is a natural finger picker. And Della, my wife, stole, and that's the only word that is appropriate, my Godin Multiac Mundau classical electric percussion style classical guitar. She is a natural at finger picking. She took that guitar, she put it up in the classical style. She started finger picking. She said, "This is mine." And she walked up, "Yes, ma'am, it's yours." And she deserves it. So I was happy for her to get it. But anyway, okay, so what's going on with this? Well, Vicky, my wife, wanted a strap that matched. Well, Luna also makes a ukulele in a Starry, Starry Night. And they had this Starry, Starry Night ukulele strap, but they didn't have the guitar strap. Well, you know, I love a challenge. So all I did was take the ukulele strap, because a ukulele that doesn't have any pins at all, this is a sound hole strap. It's literally meant to go in the sound hole. But all I did was take the string and I just double wrapped it, secured it well, put a guitar lock on it. Hey, this does great for her. Even my big old body, I can get it on. So, see, and that's in a classical style, but it'll hold you up. Now, my wife just adjusts it for her. So, you know, sometimes you can get in trouble playing with things and rigging them up. But, you know, I've been playing with guitars for a while. I love to take them apart. I love to build them. You know, it's just my hobby. It's, you know, what I do. I love to watch kids becoming passionate about them. I love when someone has the gratitude and the blessing to realize that, you know, God, we're made in his image and we're creators. So, you know, I love that. So sometimes you can get creative with straps. So let's move on. Some of the strap pins. Now, I bought this to match the style of guitar. This is a Fender George Harrison special strap. You can see it's got George on it in various places and several things. So it matched, because this is the Epiphone Casino, which George and John played, and they played an Epiphone. Everybody thinks Epiphone is nothing but a Gibson stepchild brand, and that's just not true. I realize we can start a whole war with that, but this is the Casino. I thought that this strap matched the guitar, especially since George Harrison and John Lennon made it famous. But a lot of these semi-hollows will have the strap button right here, and this is flat. So I had to actually turn it a different way to make it work. Now, this is one of the challenges you'll run into with straps. And I'm about to get into another one, is the position of the strap button. And that really matters. So I'm going to have to move this, and I want to show you another one that is really different from all the other ones. Yep, here we go. This is one of my artist series, So you got to look at the guitar before you start buying straps because things are going to be different. This is the Adam Jones Max Riding Artist Series. The reason I wanted this is that was my high school mascot. And this is the queen bee on the back. And my high school burnt to the ground. We no longer have that high school. So this means something to me and my football buddies. I actually taught several of my football teammates guitar while I was in high school. But I want you to look at the strap buttons on here. I want to make sure I don't ding it. All right. You see how they're pointed? So that actually locks a strap in place also. But here's what it did. I haven't gotten to this puppy yet. This is one of my favorite straps. It won't work on this. This is a Fender quick grip secure strap. Now watch my thumb and my index finger. You just squeeze. Let's get up here. And you see it locking into place. So you squeeze to put it on the button. You let go and it locks into place. I love these straps. They're I don't know, depending on where you buy it, somewhere between $15, $22, but they're secure. And I'll show you on another guitar how they get in there real fast. But it won't work here because this is pointed. So that ain't gonna work. It's also not gonna work if the heel, if they put it in the heel and it gets in here at an angle, it's got to be flat to work. But I'm gonna show you that. But this is yet another. I don't dislike this. When you take a normal strap, like the George Harrison strap I showed you, and put it on there, this keeps it from being pulled off. It's a brilliant design, but it's a unique design that now you can see it. And then let you see the back side. You can see how it's pointed. Does it work? Absolutely it works. It works great. This is another heavy guitar. So bear with me one second, then I'm going to show you. I don't want to knock down guitars in a video where we're trying to be secure with guitars. So bear with me one second here. One of the nice things about being retired is I can take my time. You know, poor guys and gals that are gigging in a band, a lot of times they have to hurry. That's where a lot of your disasters come. All right, so let me show you how this locking Fender strap works. And it will fit all the Strats, all the Tellys. But anyway, this is an example of where it probably won't work. See, you can't even get it over it because it won't bend. It's hard plastic because the strap button's in the heel. You don't have that problem with a Strat or a Telly or most Les Pauls. But let me show you where it will work. So I'm going to take it. Whoa, got it on my feet. Hey, I'm getting good at this one-handed stuff. So I'm going to squeeze it. Squeeze. You can see the, all right, now. Because this is flat, and now all I did was stick it on there and let go. Boom. It's not going anywhere. It is not going anywhere. Let me demonstrate that a little bit further. I'll show you why I like it so much. Let me put this one up. Pardon me. I can only get so many guitars around me. I have them mounted all up above me where I can use, when I do videos and we're trying to do some chord practice training or little tips and techniques. Remember, I don't do lessons. I do enhancements. I grab different guitars for different things. But, okay, I don't know. Let me see if you can see. Now you can't see. I actually have the polishing cloths on this because this is a unique strap. It's a Kenny Wayne Shepherd signature model, and it's got the nitro cellulose just like the Les Paul's finish, and I don't want it torn up. But as you can see, this easily, boom, and it easily goes to the other end. And I could, well, I've still got the little button in here from where it came shipped with the Fender. All they did was stick that in there to show you. So, but you can see I'm going to go the other end now. Squeeze. Okay. Get it on there and let go. Well, you have to actually get it on there. And here I am again with a very expensive strap over my head. Try it. There we are. It's not going anywhere. So had I just been reaching down, boom, off, boom, well, boom, on. That's how quick you can do that. You don't have to spread the leather. You don't have to do anything like that. Same up here. When you're through with a set, squeeze, it's off. Ready to go back on, squeeze, let it lock in place. It's not going anywhere. Forward, backward. I just think these are great straps, but the application has to work. Fender makes the Strats and Tellys and Jaguars and Jagmasters and Jazzmasters and Mustangs and Squires and all that. So, they've thought about that. It works. Let's cover a couple other straps. Let me put this back. And no, I'm not going to get in a hurry with my guitars. Okay. Let's talk about these. I happen to like these type straps too. A lot of people think that it's hard to deal with adjusting them, but it's really not. This one's leather. And, they're very wide. And for a heavy guitar or for comfort, they make very thin straps. And then they make the 3-inch ones like this that are leather. And so that makes them comfortable as they sit over your shoulder. But these like here are adjusted with the leather band. And I'm not going to go into a great thing about how to do them. It is not that hard, but it's really a matter of when, here we've got it. And if you want to make the adjustment, you take these out and you can adjust this. There are YouTube videos how to do this where I've watched guys walk you through every aspect of it. All right, so now I'm down and I pull this one out, and then it's simply a matter, I pull this one out, and you may be thinking, I don't want to go through all that. I understand. Once you do it a couple of times, it's great. Now, why do they do this? Because you really don't want this big giant 3-inch strap. You don't want it down around the neck. It's going to get in your way. So the thick part is on your shoulder, and the small part, which, watch me, I'm going to pull it on out. This is, I know this seems like it's just the most unbelievable thing in the world. Boom, it's out. Now, how do I adjust this? Well, all I'm going to do is move this part down. That's it. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but basically now I'm going to pull it through. Look at where we're at, and I'm going to move this down to here. Or I'm going to go just one, just enough to tighten it up enough. So once I go through, I said I wasn't going to do all this. I'm not going to do it all. Then it's simply a matter of coming back through here again, coming back up through there, and weaving it, and you shorten the strap. And naturally, you would just reverse that to go the other way. Now, this is the same thing. This just adds that, I don't know, that Western suede fringe leather, to it. And then this was on one that did not have a strap button on the heel. So there we are again. I used a quick release. And you see what I did. All I did was I tied the quick release into the strap hole. And I doubled it over. I didn't want that dangling. So I just doubled it over. It works great. I'm trying to remember which one I use this on. It might be a Taylor GS Mini, although some Taylors have the heel pin. But I can't remember. But anyway, that's just another style. So we've pretty much covered a lot of your straps. The last thing are going to come with your guitar. Epiphone sends this type of strap with almost every guitar they got. I've got an Epiphone Slash edition up there in between the Fender Acoustic, I'm not pronouncing that right, and my Fender American Performer Telly, and their Epiphone has the Slash top hat logo on it, but it's a decent enough strap. It's flexible, it's pliable, and it's got a brand on it. And many of the guitars you buy, I didn't mean to get up so much during this video, I'm sorry, but many of them will be branded. You'll get, like, here's a Fender, one of the quick release straps that was actually branded. So there are so many different kinds of straps. I would wager, most likely, I could be wrong. I'm not a social anthropologist, but I would wager the very first guitar strap, all the way back to a lyre, the lyre and the harps back in the days of the Bible and David, was probably a rope, or a vine, or something of that nature. So, straps serve a purpose. Somebody said I've got to go, but thanks for an interesting. Well, thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here. I appreciate it. I hope this was helpful. I'm about to end this. Thanks for the questions. Those are great questions. But remember that Guitar Strap 101, a strap is to protect the guitar. Then it's to make playing the guitar comfortable. And then it's to be beautiful or to be expressive. Everything from peace symbols to peace signs to, my logo, praise him with strings, Psalms 150. It's another part of the creative expression that we have in the love of our craft of guitars. So I hope you enjoyed this. And I will get this. It's probably going to be tomorrow or after Memorial Day. I will get this up. Maybe at this time I'll try to save it as new. I couldn't do that the last time because it was under that weird copyright dispute that I told you about. Wouldn't let me edit the video. In fact, I had to tell everybody to scroll 8 minutes in. And now that the dispute is resolved, I will finally get to go back in and deal with that. So, I'm going to try to make this something where all the links to the different straps are in there. I apologize. I don't have a helper. My granddaughter may help. She's, may help me with some of these videos where she can type in links and things like that. Cause I certainly could have had them prepared in advance. But it's just like poor Della, I had to put on my glasses to read, and I apologize for that, but that was some great questions. So anyway, I hope the remainder of your Memorial Day weekend is a blessed one. I hope your guitar journey is a blessed one. Most of all, happy picking as always. And I'm going to end it now. And I hope I'm going to end it now. I'm going to try to end it now. Thank y'all so much for being here.